All right, let's get into it. Today, we're diving into one of the U.S. Navy's biggest, most baffling mysteries of all time. It's the story of the USS Cyclops, a huge ship that, over 100 years ago, just sailed away and was never, ever seen again. Wow. I mean, that quote from 1920, it really says it all, doesn't it? It captures the pure shock of it all. People weren't just thinking shipwreck. They were thinking something almost unbelievable happened. It was a total vanishing act, and it left everyone scrambling for answers, any answers at all. Okay, so let's set the stage. To really get this mystery, you have to get to know the ship at the heart of it. So what exactly was the USS Cyclops? And here she is. Just look at this thing. The USS Cyclops was a beast, 542 feet long. To put that in perspective, that's longer than a football field and a half. She was a collier, which is basically a giant floating gas station for the Navy, but for coal. During World War I, her job was absolutely critical. She was the workhorse keeping the fleet powered up and in the fight. So that's what makes this so baffling. In March 1918, right in the middle of the war, this massive steel ship just vanishes. I mean, think about that. No distress call, no debris field, no lifeboats found floating in the water. Just gone. How in the world does a ship that big just disappear off the face of the earth? And this is the part that's truly heartbreaking. It wasn't just a ship that was lost. It was 306 people, crew members, passengers, all gone. For the U.S. Navy at the time, this was the biggest single loss of life they'd ever had outside of a direct battle. It's a massive human tragedy wrapped inside this incredible mystery. So, where do you even start to look for answers? Well, you start at the beginning of the end. Investigators started tracing the ship's final journey, and what they found was a story that seemed, well, it seemed doomed from the get-go. Let's walk through the timeline. It all kicks off in Brazil. She leaves Salvador, and the plan is simple: sail straight to Baltimore. But things go off script. She makes an unscheduled stop in Barbados on March 3rd. She leaves there the very next day, March 4th. And that's it. That's the last time anyone ever saw her. She just sailed into oblivion. And it turns out this final voyage was just full of red flags. I mean, first off, the ship itself wasn't in great shape. One of her engines had a cracked cylinder. Not good. Then she was way, way overloaded, so much so that they had to make that unplanned stop in Barbados. And here's the kicker, her cargo. She was carrying thousands of tons of manganese ore, which is way denser and heavier than the coal she was built to handle. So you've got a damaged, overloaded ship carrying the wrong kind of cargo. It's a recipe for disaster. So the ship is gone, no trace. You can just imagine what happened next, right? The rumor mill started churning. Over the years, people have come up with all sorts of theories to explain what happened, running the gamut from the totally logical to the, well, the pretty out there. The first place your mind goes, especially in 1918, is enemy action, right? There are German U-boats all over the Atlantic. It makes perfect sense. But here's the thing. That theory got shot down pretty quickly. After the war, investigators checked all the German naval records. Nothing. The Germans themselves said they never saw the Cyclops. So scratch that one off the list. Well, this is where it gets really juicy. Let's talk about the captain, a guy named George W. Worley. He was a real piece of work, apparently. He was born in Germany, for starters, which raised a few eyebrows. His crew couldn't stand him. They called him a tyrant. And his behavior was so bizarre that the American consul in Barbados actually wrote that he feared the ship had met a fate worse than sinking. Whoa. He was basically suggesting the captain might have committed treason or that the crew mutinied. And of course, you knew we had to go here. The path of the Cyclops took it right through the heart of what we now call the Bermuda Triangle. Now, back then, nobody had heard of the Bermuda Triangle. That term wouldn't pop up for decades. But the story of the Cyclops became one of the key legends that built that whole myth. It's a fun theory, but let's be clear. The Navy has never, ever taken it seriously. Okay, so let's just take a step back and look at where we are. Enemy attack? Nope. The Germans said it wasn't them. Sabotage or mutiny because of the captain? It's a great story, but there's zero proof. The Bermuda Triangle? That's more science fiction than fact. So what's left? The one theory that seems to make the most sense is some kind of massive structural failure. The problem is, without finding the ship, it's just a theory. But wait, there's one more piece to this puzzle. And honestly, this part is downright chilling. It's a pattern, a terrible pattern, that suggests the problem wasn't just with the Cyclops, but with the entire family of ships she belonged to. Okay, check this out. The Cyclops wasn't one of a kind. She had 3 sister ships built the same design. And get this, 2 of them, the Proteus and the Nereus, did the exact same thing. They vanished without a trace in the Atlantic while carrying heavy ore. The only one that didn't just disappear was the Jupiter, and that's because she was totally rebuilt into an aircraft carrier. I mean, what are the odds? 3 out of 4 ships of the same design, all meeting the same mysterious fate? That can't be a coincidence. And that right there leads us to what most experts believe is the real answer, a catastrophic structural failure. Here's how it likely went down. Step 1. The ship's internal support beams were probably weakened by corrosion from all the different cargoes over the years. Step 2. That super dense manganese ore, which is like carrying a load of wet rocks, could have suddenly shifted in rough seas, making the ship list hard to one side. And Step 3. A big storm hits. The strain on that overloaded, weakened hull is just too much, and it snaps, just like that. It would have gone down so fast, nobody would have had time to even think about sending an SOS. It's a really solid theory, right? It ticks all the boxes. But at the end of the day, without finding the wreck, without any piece of physical evidence, it's still just a theory. And so, officially, the mystery lives on. And that brings us to the final word on the matter, at least from the government. The official U.S. Navy position is simple and stark. Her loss remains unknown. They did a huge investigation, but they never found a definitive answer. So the file is stamped closed, but the case itself, it's as open and as cold as ever. So, for more than a century now, the Atlantic Ocean has kept its secret. The final moments of the USS Cyclops and those 306 people on board are locked away down there. It just makes you think, doesn't it? It's a humbling reminder of how powerful the ocean is. And it makes you wonder, what other stories, what other secrets are still waiting for us down there in the deep?